I am going to show you, okay? Let me go under list, okay? And let's build that useState, okay? I'm going to say import, okay? And we are going to say useState because we're going to be using that useState from React. And now I have to do the following. I am going to be creating this function that will allow the user to get to upload the picture, okay? So what I have to do, I am going to number one. I want to obtain the picture information, but let me see how can we do this so then you can understand clearly. Let's build the function first, and I'm going to explain what it does, okay? So I'm going to say async function, okay? And we are going to say update pic, okay? And we need to pass a value because the value that this function is going to use is what the user is going to pass in the front end. So we need to pass a variable, but I'm not going to do this now. We are going to finish the function and then we'll apply it, okay? So I am going to expect the file. So this will be the file that the user is going to give me in the browser. Now, what I had to pass, you know what? Let's do the following. Let me go down. Let's build the button. So if we go back into the front end, right? I'm going to be building this browse button. And then with that, I can pass the data, in this case, the picture. Okay, so let me go back. Let me show you. Here we go. Okay, input type file, name asset. Okay, now here, I have to pass the input, in this case, the file that the user is going to give me. I got to give the opportunity to upload so then I can fetch the information and pass it to the function. I want to do on change. And you might think why you didn't do on click like the one below. The reason why I didn't do that is because if I do on click instead of on change, I am not going to give enough time to the user to upload the picture. And Next.js is just going to obtain the value right away. We don't want that. We want to wait the data to arrive so then it does the change and triggers the function. You see, that's basically what it is. It's like a very dumbed down explanation of how onChange work, okay? And now what I have to say is the name of the function, which is going to be update picture, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say update picture, and we can see it right here. That's it. That's it on the input, okay? Now, when we send files in using Next.js, we have to pass the target of the file, okay? So in this case, I am going to say, I'm just going to pass this variable. It could be anything because this is what the file is going to be represented as. It's just this character, okay? Now I have to say target, okay? So the target is the actual file itself, okay? And we're going to say dot file0, meaning this is the first file. How do we get that value of file? You might say, well, how do you find this value? Right, so let's go back down here. I'm going to show you. And type file. This is how I tell Next.js I am going to be sending a file. And this is what I'm going to be calling north here, okay? Now, whatever information we obtain here, this is the actual picture file. We're just going to store that in file. Now I'm going to send that to IPFS, okay? We're going to say constant. Now we want to know. As a matter of fact, before I do that, let's build the function just like what we did with send JSON to IPFS. We are going to be building the function to send the file to IPFS. Let's go ahead and do that. And then we can bring this function same way as I did right here for that file. So with that said, let me go to Pinata. And now I am going to be building another function, and it's going to be called async function send file to IPFS, okay? In this case, instead of send JSON, send file. I will be passing the information that I obtained from the user input file, okay? Awesome. Now, basically, this represents whatever I am going to be passing from the user to the function, okay? This is what is tricky. And if you have seen my previous videos regarding IPFS, it's very simple just to pass the file. In the case of Pinata, it's expecting a little bit more information, okay? So what I have to do, I am going to be sending, because I am going to be sending multiple data, not strings, data values, I have to format that value into form data. I'm not going to go too in detail on how this works because this will literally take another video. It packages everything into one single value that we send onto the API call. So then that information, in this case, data itself, we're sending a picture, it's basically data, is passed along with other attributes that Pinata is expecting us to send, okay? So what I have to do here, I am going to say constant, and let's call this form data. Let's form that data, okay? Because we're building this, we're grabbing the picture, we're adding the picture, we're adding multiple values and sending it one time, okay? And we're going to say new, and this is a function that we have inside HTML that will allow us to do that, okay? Now we're going to say constant, and this will be the URL, but this will be a different URL from this because this is to pin JSON to IPFS. Now we have to pin file to IPFS, okay? Paste this whole thing here, okay? And then this is where you see pin file to IPFS, cool? And we're gonna be packing the file and the attributes, okay? Check this out. We are going to now use form data, okay? Now we are going to be appending. We're going to be integrating multiple things, multiple values or multiple data onto this particular call. And we are going to say what? We're going to say append, and now we are going to tell that it's a file, and then we will pass the file. Remember, this is what we are obtaining from the user, okay? File, awesome. And now we're going to say constant, and we're going to say opts. Let's say that options is what Pinata is expecting us to send. It's the CID version of this particular data that we're passing, which is going to be 0, okay? We're going to say JSON, right? And we're going to say stringify. Again, we have to do that stringify. And inside here, we are going to pass what we need to pass, which is the CID version, okay? And we are going to say 0. Form data, remember, we are packaging everything into one single, you can call it variable or you can say package. We're sending in the entire one API call, we're sending all this one shot, okay? We're going to say append, right? And now we are going to say Pinata options. And we are just going to pass that single option that we just created over here, okay? Cool. Now we have appended two things. We appended the file. Now we also added the options in this form data package. Basically, this is what it is. Now we're going to say constant, and we need to pass some other options, okay? We are going to be passing this, what Pinata is telling us. I am going to do copy and paste, and I am going to explain real quick what it means, okay? So let me go ahead and do this. Let me show you. Okay, so it's expecting the body length. I assume this has to do with being a file. We are saying that there's no specific length, allow everything. Content type, and this is going to be sent using multi-part form data, meaning that I'm not only passing the file, I'm also passing some options, okay? This is why the content type in the API call is going to be a form data because I am passing multiple things. And this basically tells the form data, hey, this is the boundary that we should be also sending or informing in the API call. Obviously, we're going to be passing the API key, the secret, and also I have to pass this last attribute of text plain. This is what the information in Pinata's documentation is providing us, okay? And we have sent the Pinata API and secret, which is good. Okay, awesome. I think we are good. Now we can definitely send the information to IPFS, in this case, the picture. So I'm going to say constant send picture, okay? And we are going to say await. And again, we're just going to do that access call once again. Post, and we are going to be posting the URL. That's the first entry. Now we are going to be forming the data. So now we are passing the form data, okay? Form data, cool. And finally, options. Awesome, awesome. Okay, now I need to obtain and return. What do I need to obtain or return? The CID, because that tells us that the file was successfully uploaded. Yeah, the picture, okay? So let's do that. Let's return what? We are going to return send pic, whatever you obtain from send pic, which is data, and IPFS hash. This is the particular key element that Pinata is going to tell us where the CID is, and we should obtain that in return. Awesome, so now we officially have the function ready to go. But remember, we did async, but we have to export it because we are importing this in list. Okay, so remember, we are exporting all of our functions. So let's go ahead and export this one. Export async function, send file to IPFS. We're going to control S. And now let's go back onto list. Okay, now in this, I can effectively call that, right? So I am going to be calling the send file. So I am going to be calling, it should auto import right here, okay? Now what I'm going to do, I am going to declare get CID because we need to obtain that CID. Now you are going to see that we obtained the CID and we know that the picture got uploaded, okay? Cool, await. We're gonna be awaiting what? We're going to be sending that function. Boom, and we got the function imported, okay? Now we are going to say, we are going to be sending the file. There you go, beautiful. And now to test, I have to do console. I'm just gonna do console log get CID. Beautiful. Okay, awesome. Now we know that we are able to send text. We are able to format that JSON file and then send that to IPFS. Now I'm going to be sending the CID of the picture. But in this case, I just want to confirm that it works. I will obtain the ID and then I should be able to open the picture, okay? Let me save, okay? Let's confirm. Okay, let's hit browse. Okay, so I have a folder with a couple of house pictures, but before I open, let me see if I can do this. I am going to open the console because the moment I upload, we should obtain that CID if everything goes well. Okay, so I'm gonna click browse and let's find the picture. Let me just choose this and hopefully, no, there's an issue. Okay, let's see what it is. I think it's because this is files. And yeah, it has to be plural, okay? So I'm gonna just control S and let's give it a shot again. Let me just refresh this whole thing and let's give it a shot. Hopefully, it says that we are facing, let's troubleshoot. Let's see what this is all about. So let me go under, let me open the API request and request respond. And it says API key and secret must be strings. Let's see what that's about. Let me go to config and API key, API secret. Let's go back. Maybe I did a mistake here. Yeah, API key, API secret. And I said Pinata key, Pinata secret. So I'm going to say API key and I'm going to say API secret. That should do it. Yeah, it was a typo right here. Okay, that's why not every time copy and paste works. So API secret, and I'm gonna say API key, and let me just remove this right here. Cool, and now we should be golden. Okay, that looks better. Okay, awesome. Let's give it a shot. Let me refresh. And fingers crossed, okay? I want to browse and beautiful, awesome. Okay, cool, we're making progress. All right, let's take a look at this. So we can either copy this and open it natively in IPFS, or I can go to my URL, so then I can see that using my gateway. So what I'm gonna do, you can see it right here. Don't worry, I'm going to explain that you can actually append the IPFS CID right here. And we should see the picture. So let me do that. Let me just open here. Paste the URL, in this case, the CID, and see if that gives the picture out. There you go. Awesome. Okay, so let me show you so you can see it right here. So this right here, this is the entire URL for my gateway, and this is the CID path. So I know 100% that the picture is uploaded to IPFS. Cool. Now we need to do the following. We need to obtain the picture CID and we need to send to the JSON file the path to that picture. Because when I open the JSON file and I read the entire listing info, the asking price, all of that, the last item that we need to pass is the picture URL, which will allow Next.js to grab the picture and display that on the listing. Okay, let's do that. So let's go ahead and pass the picture URL. So the first thing that I got to do is the following. I need to send the CID. So then we build that URL that you saw previously. So you saw the entire path that we need to store in the database. So then we can read that and then display the picture. That's how it's going to work. So number one, we need to go under list, right? And when we pass the information to IPFS to build that JSON formatted output, we need to send the picture also, which means that I have to also upload the picture, right? So I have to build a function to upload the picture here, which we got, right? But what I have to do now, I have to make sure that I save the CID in the front end, meaning that once the user hits the upload, this is very tricky. This is not your ordinary function that you just click and you expect everything to run, right? So let's go ahead and show you right here. So we got list property, right? But remember, we need the user to hit the browse button and upload the picture. Once I hit the browse button and uploads the picture, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be passing that value here. It's just to upload to IPFS and done. I still need to capture that information so that I can pass that to list property, which means that we are going to be using useState to record that in memory or record that in the user's machine, in the user's browser, so then that value can be passed into list property. Okay, let's do that. So with that, I have to use useState. Okay, with that, I can record the CID input. Right now, we're just displaying the CID in the console, but now that value, I have to pass it to useState. Let me show you how it's done. Okay, so we need to capture that CID. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do constant, and we will say pick CID. This will be the value stored, okay? And I need to pass the useState that will update this value, okay? So the useState is going to be, let's type get pick CID, okay? This is what I need to call in the update CID and pass this value. So then pick CID, it's updated with that, and I can pass that onto list property. That's how the user is going to hit browse, send the picture to IPFS. We will store the picture in IPFS and we're done with that. But then now I have to make sure that I also save the picture CID into the property listing so that I can load the picture later on. Okay, this is very important. Okay, and now we are going to say this is going to be equal to useState. And we will say that this value is, we are going to let this be empty because there's nothing yet. There's no string. So when it first load, this CID value is just basically going to be this. There's nothing inside, okay? Now, another thing that I want to do, I want to allow the user, or I think it's going to be beneficial to change this background, right? So instead of not showing any default picture, let's show the Pinata logo. And when we upload the picture, we are going to be updating that picture, that logo that we are just going to place with the actual property picture. Let's do that. Basically what we're going to do, we're going to do another useState, and we will load the useState with the Pinata logo, and then we will update as we go. Okay, so this is very fun. I think this is one of the best things or uses that we have with useState, is the fact that you can do so much with just storing in memory and then using later on. So this is like super important, and this is very powerful. So what I have to do now, I am going to build another useState, right? So in this case, it's going to set a picture. This will be the default picture, but we are going to be updating that in state memory. Once the user uploads the house picture, we will display the property picture instead of the Pinata logo, okay? And this will be get picture, okay? Which is very different from get CID, okay? And what we're going to do now, we're going to say useState. But here's what I need to do. I have to pass the default value of the Pinata logo because I want to send this to HTML so then when the page loads, I see the picture rendered. I can now display that default picture, and then once the user hits that upload button, we'll refresh that to be the house property, okay? With that said, I am going to be labeling this, okay? Inside useState, I am going to point to the file of the Pinata logo. Okay, so let me find that file named right here, which I have it. And you can see it right here. I am going to click Pinata logo, and this is what we are going to display. So let me go back onto list, right? And I am going to just type the file name here. Value when the user loads the page, okay? Now, once I do that, if I pass picture into HTML and I refresh, we should see the Pinata logo. As a matter of fact, I want to make sure that you are, by the way, I got 2 boxes running. I got the fully functional application that I already built, and this is the one that we are building on this tutorial. So you can see here, there's no logo. And if I refresh, we don't see anything. The idea is to show this, okay? You don't see anything right now. If I refresh, there's nothing else happening. Okay, so let's add the useState that we just built, and let's add picture, which should pass this value, okay? Let me find that location, which is going to be, by the way, it's going to be picture. And I need to find where do I insert this so then it renders. Okay, so we got list property, and this is where we are going to place that image. So you see list property, this is the button. So let me show you back. This is the button, and we are going to display this up here. So that means that it's going to be the value up here, right? This is the button, and then this will be the value. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I am going to add src, which is the source, and we'll open those brackets and add picture. This is the useState value. Okay, awesome. I am going to save and see what happens. Control S, let's go back, and you can already see it. Awesome. Right? So if I refresh, now it's just going to load that by default. And just like the other side, by the way, I got 2 different boxes, and you can see that now it's working. Now the idea is for the user, when the user uploads the picture, this should change to the actual property picture. Okay, so let's go back. Let me show you real quick. Okay, so I am going to, number 1, capture the CID value, so then we can send that when the user lists the property. We need to store also the CID, okay? So what I have to do here, I am going to invoke that useState get pick CID, okay? And what we need to pass, we are going to pass what we obtained from this call. Once the user uploads the picture, we should receive an IPFS CID, then we'll pass this here, get CID. Awesome. So that's how you pass the value. Now, pick CID, it's going to be the value that I'm going to be using to send to JSON. So this will send the CID value to the JSON file, but we are going to take the opportunity to send the full URL that you saw, the full gateway with the CID value as well. Okay, so then once it loads, it shows the picture, right? Okay, cool. And now I want to also show the picture that the user uploaded in the listing. Okay, so it replaces the Pinata logo. For that, I am going to be using the gateway because I need to read the image live and render that in the browser, which means that I have to use the gateway to, find the picture and load the picture, right? So we are going to build the entire URL live, and then we'll display that in the front end. Okay, check this out. This is very cool. So I no longer need the console log because we don't need to show that. We already proved that it works. So what I have to do, I am going to build a constant. This will be IPFS path. We're going to build that picture path, okay? And we said that it starts with HTTPS. We're going to build our Pinata gateway path, okay? Now I have to import, this is going to build that entire URL. I have to import my gateway name, which if I go to config, you remember in config, we build that value right here. This is my gateway name, okay? So we are going to be importing this. Let me go onto list. I'm gonna manually import it here. I'm gonna type import IPFS gateway, and sure enough, now we have the value right here, okay? Now this should read the actual gateway. Okay, now what I need to send, again, what else do I need to complete? I am going to complete the rest of the URL, which is going to be plus, and this will be a string dot Pinata cloud, okay? And it's going to be / IPFS / and now we need to pass the CID, okay? Because this is the entire path to load that picture. What's the CID? Get CID. We are already obtaining that as well, okay? So we're just gonna pass it here as well, get CID, okay? And now we're going to say plus, and then we have to pass some string characters, which is basically the token, okay? This is the moment where we need to pass the gateway token, okay? So what I have to do, I am going to say question, and this is the format that is expected, gateway token, okay? Awesome, and then I am going to pass the actual gateway JWT, okay? And we already configure that. So if we go back onto Pinata, onto config, I got the gateway JWT, okay? We are going to use this right here. So let's go back, make sure that I am importing that value as well. I'm going to type gateway JWT, and we are going to use that here, okay? Gateway JWT, and that should be it. Now, when this happens, now everything gets loaded or built. That value, I have to pass this to get picture, which then I can send into the front end, okay? And what's going to do is going to replace the Pinata logo with the picture of the house or of the property. This is what we're going to do, okay? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to say get picture, okay? And we are going to pass IPFS path, okay? Now, what's going to happen, this value is going to be replaced with this path, this entire path right here, okay? And we should see the picture, okay? Now, let's test it out and make sure that it works, okay? So what I got to do, I have to Control S, and until I browse and upload the picture, we're not gonna see the change. We have to see the change once we do the upload. Okay, so I save, let's go back, and we're gonna browse, okay? We got one of those pictures. I am going to upload this. Let's, fingers crossed, okay? You know, when you are facing an issue, there you go. It's not Pinata, it's my, because that's the gateway URL. It changes a little bit, okay? Let's go ahead and fix this. I'm gonna Control S. Let's give it a shot one more time. We should be golden. And I'm going to upload and see if we are lucky. Let's see, boom, beautiful, awesome. Okay, that was it. Awesome, we had the token was correct. It was literally my URL. I had an issue right there, okay, cool. So now we know that we have this golden and we know that we have the right CID. We are passing that here. So now I am going to use this value to send that to the JSON file. Okay, so we are going to add a new property. Okay, and that new property is going to be the picture. So what I have to do, I am going to add a last value here, and we will pass what? We are going to pass that pic CID. Okay, so let me send that pic CID. Okay, so I'm going to say pic CID, right? Let me go here. Now that I'm passing get address, I am going to pass the picture or the pic CID. We can do anything, okay? So it's going to be pic CID because we're passing it from the listing. And now I am going to add one last attribute right here that is going to be called picture CID, or in this case, picture, okay? And this is what's going to allow me to show that in the listings on the front page, okay? So we're going to pass. I decided, you know what? Let's pass the entire URL as I did in list. So then the only thing that I have to pass, it's gonna be the JSON web token and the Pinata gateway, okay? Which means that in case I need to replace the key, the listing will still work, because if I replace the key and we store the entire URL using a key that no longer works, those pictures are never gonna load, okay? So what I have to do, I'm going to take advantage of this, right? We're just going to copy this entire thing. But the only thing that I don't want to copy is the gateway JWT, okay? I am going to copy everything else, and we'll pass the entire URL to the JSON file. So I'm going to say, instead of pic CID, I am going to pass this, but then instead of get CID, we'll pass pic CID, okay? Because that's the value that I'm sending. Okay, cool. So now what's going to get stored under picture, it's this entire URL, but we're not going to pass the token because one, is security, and second, if I need to change the token, then this value cannot be replaced, okay? So with that said, I think we should be good. Let's do a listing and confirm, okay? So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do that. So let me go under the front end, okay? And let me refresh and let's build a new listing. Testing a new listing, okay? And we're gonna ask the price, and 2010, HOA 100, address 12345 Road, city, Montreal, Canada, 12345. So just put something here. And then this is another listing test. And we're just 2, 2, 2, and 2. And we're gonna add the picture now, okay? And let's add this house right here. We should get the update right here. Boom, looking perfect. And we're gonna say John Smith, J Smith at net2def IIO, and 788-345. Okay, cool. Now we are going to list the property. I want to make sure that it listed completed. So I'm going to list the property, and hopefully, boom, we got the listing. So everything went well. Awesome. So now I'm going to copy this. Let's do gateway my Pinata. So I'm going to say HTTPS gateway, and then I'm going to say IPFS. I'm going to paste that value. Yeah, awesome. That worked. Awesome. All right, cool. We validated, and we can guarantee and we can confirm that we are indeed using but we did show undefined. That's now good. And let me make sure that everything else matched correctly. Yeah, everything looks good, but it did undefined here. We should have the value not undefined. So we should see that CID instead of undefined. So let me go back. Take a look. Return. So let's do this. And we're going to say pick CID. Okay, let me save it, and we'll have to do it again. Okay, so let me go ahead and give it a shot one more time. Should be able to list it again. So let me just list. Okay, we got a new value. I'm going to copy that value. Copy message. And let's replace the message here. Awesome. Yeah, so it was literally the condition. Unless I don't pass the condition, it's not going to pass the value. Okay, cool. We're golden. Awesome. So you can see now it has been populated successfully. So that's good. Okay. Let me show you now what we need to do. We need to read now the input. Now we have to read every single listing. So then we can display that in the front end, okay, in the home page.